Good evening, parents and guardians of students in Mr. Laurie's English 9 Period 3 class. Welcome to Back to School Night for the fall of 2021. I'm sorry that we couldn't be in the classroom. It has been awesome to be back in the hallways and in the classrooms with students. Really good energy so far this year. I think everybody's excited to be back to school. So here's your opportunity. And thanks for coming to this and watching this video. A lot of information in here about the class and who I am and how to contact and communicate. So I think we can dive right in, try to keep it pretty concise tonight. Here's our agenda, an introduction, say a little bit more about who I am. We're going to talk about the Compose Our World curriculum, often abbreviated as COW. Then we have Google Classroom to talk about, and email, and then how you might support students at home. So this link right here would bring you to my PSD Learning page, which is also linked on my teacher page at the Rocky Mountain High School website. But basically it looks like this. It's pretty simple, pretty bare bones this year because we are back to live instruction. But there are a couple things here in this message that might be meaningful. Basically just wanted to say hello and look forward to working with you and your students. And let's see here. So one thing that's mentioned for parents in particular is to email me directly. There is a link on this homepage toward the top. You'll also have my email by the end of this presentation. But basically, you can come to this web page just to see kind of the gist of things. One thing that's mentioned at the bottom for everyone, which includes students and parents, is our high school, Rocky Mountain High School mantra, or you might say our mission statement, which is self-purpose place. Which is pretty much at the core of everything that we're going to do this year. The skills and the curriculum we're going to work on can easily be traced back to that. So there's that, and then there's also an About Me page if you want to learn a little bit more. But that would be something to check out another time. So let's go back to tonight's discussion. And on this next slide, you'll see a lot more detail about the curriculum we'll be using in this class. All right, so first thing you'll notice at the top is Compose Our World course. So a little background on this. A few years ago, I volunteered to work in a pilot program with researchers from the University of Colorado Boulder in conjunction with Lucas Education Research. And basically, over a 5-year course, they and me and several other teachers in PSD and around the country enacted this project-based curriculum. And in my experience, it's been really successful with the students in English 9, mainly for the way that it increases engagement. Project-based learning, I think, for students is a little more relevant, and they find it more interesting due to some of the choice that they have in their curriculum, also due to the real-life skills that we will be working on, and the projects themselves. So at the top, you'll see the two guiding questions: how do we compose our world, and how is our world composed for us? So, all the reading, all the research, all the presentations that we do can be tied back to those questions. Here are the 4 units, and in the past, there's room for movement. We might not necessarily do all 4 of these units. We might bring in other ones as well, but they're called Compose Our World, What Happened Here, Unearthing Humanity, and Changing the Conversation. Basically, in Compose Our World, we start to look at all the different ways to read, and basically that includes viewing, listening, reading text, short text, long text, research, etc. And so we kind of expand the whole notion of what a text is. And this one, students they'll be looking at a lot of different things in media and also in literature, and then remixing one of those texts for a new purpose. So it's a multimodal thing. There's also an essay in which the student will actually analyze their own creation. So that's a pretty cool kind of metacognitive practice for students, where they're looking at what they've learned and how they've learned it. The next unit is called What Happened Here. Basically, a big question in this unit is what makes a compelling story. So this is where we'll read a full-length text. We'll also use that to kind of like spark ideas, where students will be doing short writings, one of which at the end they'll turn into a digital narrative film. In the past, we've been able to host a film festival in our media center at Rocky. Hopefully we'll be able to do that, and if so, you'll be hearing about it. Unearthing Humanity is basically looking at the human experience, which includes book clubs in which students will read full-length texts in smaller groups, and they'll have daily discussions and check-ins, and also be working on analysis together. And then at the end, what we've done in the past is created a museum exhibit. And again, we invited the community into the Media Center at Rocky Mountain High School to check out the things that the students create. Long story short, it's a three-dimensional interactive museum with the guiding question of what does it mean to be human. That one also comes with some formal writing too. And then the last one is called Changing the Conversation. And in this last one, this is where they bring all the skills that they've worked on for those other 3 units and create some type of a, basically like a community outreach program. Kind of like a campaign manager. Students will work in generally small teams, and they will tackle an issue that they're concerned about and then find some creative way to present that to the public. So there you have it. That's the gist of the units that we're going to be covering. At this point, can't really say exactly which books we'll be reading, for instance, because students will have some choice. For instance, the first full-length text that we'll read would probably be a novel, and there will be probably 4 to 8 from which students will vote on what they're interested in, and then we'll go with that. After that, the small groups, the same general idea applies, that they'll have some time to research a topic, a concern, and then they'll find a book that goes in conjunction with that. And then, of course, we'll work in poetry, maybe a full poetry unit, and some other collaborative units as well. So that's the overview. And at this point, just wanted to kind of turn the focus a little bit and talk a little bit about what you might do to help support your student in this class. So I understand this is English 9, and so it's 9th graders that are new to Rocky, new to high school. We spent quite a bit of time in the first few weeks of class just kind of getting to know the place, kind of establishing our own classroom culture within the greater culture of Rocky. Rocky's mission statement is self-purpose place, so that's at the beginning. Those are 3 things that I want students to really be thinking about, like how do they fit in, how do they contribute, what is their connection to this place, also their purpose, so their goals, now and maybe beyond high school, and also the self, which is, a lot of the writing that we'll be doing will be kind of like self-reflective and, more about like how they read the text we read and how they apply in their lives. So how might you help with that? Well, talk to them. That's the biggest one, probably. Just kind of stay in the loop, Ask students specific questions, about what they've been reading, what they've been discussing, that type of thing at home. That really helps a lot because it keeps them thinking and it keeps them connected. Also, promote reading. One of the probably the most important thing for success in a language arts class is reading. And so if you can kind of cultivate that in any way by going to the library, by sharing things that you've read, stuff like that, that really helps a lot. Communicate. Email with me is certainly important. As if you have questions, if you see any change in a student, you have anything you'd like me to know, you have any tips on how to engage your student, all that type of stuff is really helpful, and email is probably the best way to do it. In the 4th bullet point here, there is my email. It's rlaurie@psdschools.org. One thing you might email me right away would be just a note with your student's name and then your email address. I can add you to the Google Classroom, which doesn't give you full access to the projects and the activities that are there, but what it does is it keeps you in the loop. About once a week, I think it is, Google Classroom will send you an email with basically a list of assignments that are due or in progress or have been returned, so that'll give you an idea of where your student stands in class. And then as far as grades are concerned, Parent View is where you have access to the actual grade book. And just kind of keeping an eye on that. I would say once a week maybe check that just to see how things are cruising. If there's any major change, that would be definitely an indication that we might want to connect on email. So at the same time, I think that it's really important that students have freedom and, self-responsibility, and that they're kind of the masters of their grade and everything. I also feel the need to reach out to you if I see anything noteworthy that I would want to share with you. So those are some ways that you might help your students succeed. That wraps it up for tonight. Parent-teacher conferences will be later, a few weeks down the line here. That'll give us an opportunity to actually meet. I'm not sure if it'll be live or online, but hope to see all of you there to take this conversation even further. So thank you again for your time tonight. Welcome back to school. I'm Mr. Laurie, and I look forward to working with you and your students. Have a great evening. Thank you.